Yo, Bam.
Yes, sir.
Have you heard of the series The Last of Us?
Yeah, man. Are you talking about the game or the TV show?
Have you played the games?
I played portions of the games, and I've watched through gameplay of the games. And Naughty Dog doesn't miss. You know what I mean? I didn't play the second game. I watched through some playthroughs of the second game, and I just felt myself getting more and more depressed. You know, and I think there was definitely a time in my life where I would watch a whole bunch of zombie stuff and play a whole bunch of post-apocalyptic games. But you know, something with The Last of Us, you know, like how the story theme, it's a little too close to real life. You know what I mean? It's a little bit like too close to it. So I was always a little bit pulled back by diving too deep into The Last of Us, even though the storyline and everything about it, the characterization, Naughty Dog masterpiece. But I've also been watching the live action, and it's got that same kind of vibe, man. It's doing really well so far, at least for me. I know there's some people that have played the game hardcore, played the game like 3-4 times, and they have some opinions and ideas that they don't really like a lot of changes that's happening in the show. But for me right now, as a person that casually played The Last of Us, I'm really enjoying the TV show right now.
I think I definitely played The Last of Us, or the first one, at least once, and I've seen like my brothers play it a couple times. Last of Us Part 2, I played it one time, and I've watched a lot of videos about The Last of Us 2. Okay. And I'll agree with you. That was probably the most dark/depressing game I've ever played.
Like, and this, I played Dark Space, but I think it's the setting. You know what I mean? It's like I don't get as connected. Like, Naughty Dog does a really good job of getting you connected to characters, doing great dialogue, and then putting them in situations, especially with The Last of Us, that you're just like, why are we here? Why are we here?
Like, Kratos in God of War 3, he destroyed the whole pantheon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Killed countless people, and that game wasn't depressing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Something about The Last of Us 2, beating Nora in the hallway with a crowbar. Like, yo, can we not? You know what I'm saying? Ellie, you're doing too much right now. Calm down. I understand your revenge, but like, come on now.
Doing
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Last of Us 2 is just a heavy game. I don't know. I think it's beautiful that a game could leave me impacted that way. Where I say, yo, I'll play it again eventually when I'm in a better emotional state. You know what I'm saying?
That's what oh yeah. I feel like we've either had a podcast episode or we've talked about either The Last of Us or games or experiences like The Last of Us before, where it's just like really great quality experience. But is it a fun experience? You know what I mean? Like, it's a great game. That's the thing that messes up for me. It's a great game, but is it a fun game? Am I having fun playing this game? That's the funny thing about it when I think about like gaming nowadays compared to like especially on the Sony side. I think Nintendo's they're locked in on just making sure we hit that dopamine button for you every chance we get in terms of just having fun, not thinking about things, not getting too concerned. The most serious game I think they have is like Legend of Zelda, Metro, and you know what I mean? It's like, that's the most serious they have, right? You know, that's the most serious. I might be wrong about that. Don't flame me in the comment section down below, Nintendo fans. Don't do it.
Ain't Princess Peach kidnapped in every movie and every game?
Yeah, she's kidnapped, but it's like a little like, if you get kidnapped that many times, man, get your security up, man. Get your security up. Like, fair. Come on, yo. Move to a different castle. Like I feel like Bowser got like he got the keys. He just walking in, be like, yo, it's about that time of the week. Let's go.
It's Tuesday, 3 p.m. It's time to go. You know.
Come on. Say like, oh, I'm getting kidnapped. Okay. But yeah. But when it comes to Sony has done a really good job of just making really high quality and technically impressive gameplay, really good stories, making good stories with great character development. But am I having fun? That's the question that comes up to me. It's like, I know I'm enjoying the experience. I know I'm going to give this game I'm playing from Naughty Dog, or typically from Sony, like at least an 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. But how many times did I smile or enjoy myself while playing this game? Yeah.
Fine. That's fair. But how does it translate? How does Last of Us translate into actual episodic series, in your opinion?
In my opinion,
episode 1, 2, 3, and you watched episode 4 as well, right?
Yes, I watched episode 4. I haven't watched episode 5 yet.
Same here.
I would definitely say, in my opinion, as a casual player of The Last of Us, this series is doing great. You know, I come from like a person that loves watching zombie-based shows or post-apocalyptic based shows. Like, I was a really big Walking Dead fan. And I think this in comparison to like even season 1 of The Walking Dead, is very comparable. Very comparable. It's a little bit more condensed, right? Because in The Walking Dead, you get introduced pretty quickly to a bigger cast of characters, while in The Last of Us, we're kind of more focused on this smaller world between Joel and Ellie. And I'm liking it, man. I'm liking it so far. There hasn't been a single episode that I'm like trash. Like, it's just like each episode I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing there. I do feel like episode 3, episode 3 was nice. I liked the little story that they were going with in terms of this love story that was happening here. But I just didn't get how it really was super meaningful to the overall plot of what we got going on, because we had this whole episode exploring these whole characters' lives and like the love they have for each other, and like how they were able to find like enjoyment, love, and peace in this like broken world. But then we get to them. When our main characters get to them, they're already gone, and they're literally just a place where we get supplies. That was literally the whole, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think The Last of Us is known for those like side stories that you completely miss out on.
Okay.
Like playing the first game, there's like they're in the sewer system, and it might end up being spoilers for the show.
Okay.
They're in the sewer system, and there's like a story about how outbreak happened in the sewers. And if you don't pick up the artifacts, the journals, then you completely miss out on that. You know what I'm saying? Even Last of Us 2, that's just like the thing that Naughty Dog does. I do agree that, I guess that's another thing about Last of Us. It shows that it's not really about the infected or the zombies. Right. I mean, I guess it's technically infected. It's more about the social connections that people make in this messed up world.
True.
So
that's the more interesting part about it. Like, zombies only are interesting for season 1 to 2 of a zombie show. Like, you look at The Walking Dead, zombies were the main backdrop. Everyone was like, okay, how do these zombies move? How do they operate? What are the different tactics to survive against them? How, like, do they move in hordes? Do they move separately? All this stuff, right? Like, how many bullets? Basically figuring out how to kill these zombies and how to survive is season 1. Season 2 is how many interesting situations can you get into these zombies, and like how do people kind of almost use these zombies to their advantage. But after season 2 is like, if you die by zombies, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? It's like, it becomes more about how the zombies become a backdrop. They become like just a piece, while it goes back to what we're really truly watching for, is like the human interactions. How does society devolve when zombies come back? How does humanity kind of bounce back from zombies? How do we grow? Like, what factions start to develop? What ideologies start to develop? I think Last of Us does a great job of that. We have like the Fireflies, and then we have the militant government, and then in episode 4 we get introduced to this different group that is not the Fireflies, not the militant government, but their own kind of group developing on their own, rebelling against the militant government. that wasn't really being too beneficial for them, but they kind of developing their own kind of good and bad qualities about them. So looking forward to catching up on episode 5 and seeing where we go from there in terms of exploring that societal structure they have.
Yeah.
But yeah, the zombies is only cool for the first 1 to 2 seasons of a show. But I will say the zombies do maintain their coolness factor more so when you're playing the game, because you are like literally there having to interact with them instead of you just watching, sitting back, watching someone else have to interact with them, and you're like, come on, man, you died by that zombie, come on, man. But like when you're playing the game, it's like, it's bloater.
I do think they're trying to be sparse with the zombie usage for that reason, so it doesn't like infected. When we say zombies in Last of Us, we're talking about the mushroom head people. Like we know they're not zombies, but come on now, come on.
They're zombies, bro. They're dead. Yeah. They're dead.
So the zombies in The Last of Us, I think they're trying to be sparse with how to use them, so they still have like there's power behind every scene that's going to be employed in.
Oh yeah. True.
I would say, what's been your favorite episode so far?
Ooh, honestly, episode 4 right now. I love the puns. I love the fact that like we're seeing Joel and Ellie start connecting more. We see Ellie. I'm trying to understand why Ellie is trying to reach out more, but maybe she just has a deep craving for human interaction, and makes sense there. But I just love the fact that like they're establishing a stronger relationship. We first get I think that's one of the most emotionally impactful ones, because we see them get into like their first actual real shootout. And we see like how messy it could get, like how like one thing I would say that the show does a really good job of is like it draws out scenes. It draws out scenes to a point where you kind of feel uncomfortable, because you kind of feel like you're there. You start to mentally connect with the characters of people there. Like when Ellie ends up shooting that guy, and it looks like he shot him in the spine because he complained that he can't feel his legs, and you just hear him just like negotiating for his life, and it's like you understand everybody's motivations in that moment. I understand Joel, because he's like, I can't let you live, bro, because you literally just 5 seconds ago you were about to like just choke me out, and it was about to be a wrap for me. And now you're crying for your mommy. Now you want to negotiate. Now you want to let me live and all this stuff. And I'm like, I know by the time your people hear you crying, you're going to be like, it's dead. Kill them. So it's like, I understand Joel's mindset. Ellie being like in total shock about taking like, causing this much pain to someone else at her age and trying to process that information. And her even realizing like, oh yeah, this guy gotta die, because it's so foreign. Like when you see someone from a far distance that just falling, it's like it's a foreign concept. But like when it's that person right there and they're crying for the help, and they're telling you their name and where they live and like where they used to do and like what their mom's name is, you're like, man, you weren't asking me what my name was. You weren't asking me what I used to do, man.
Nah, that's a fact. One thing that was different from that and the game was Joel is less of a jerk in this show. In the game, when Ellie first saves Joel, he's like, didn't I tell you stay still? And then she was like, wow, thanks, Joel. I thought you would be like, thank you for saving my life, da-da-da. And she looked visibly like scared and shook up.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm just happy I get my face blown off by some 12-year-old. So Joel was a jerk in the game.
Yeah.
So this rendition of Joel being like, I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah.
It seems more
sensitive.
He seems less chiseled than in the game. The game he's like too Know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Did he have in the game? I'm trying to remember. Did he have a moment where he was like, "Yo, Ellie, I know that must have been tough." Did he have a moment like that in the game afterwards?
No. What happens in the game is they have to go into like some area, and Joel thinks it'd be nice if he could have backup. So it might be like an hour or 30 minutes after the initial him yelling at her saying, "Why did you could have shot my head off," right? He's like, "So here's the rifle. Aim, start shooting after I shoot. If the silent takedowns isn't working, start shooting there, and then don't get caught."
Okay.
And he's like, I think he eventually did say, "I would have died," in his Joel way.
Yeah.
But he never really was like coddling her like that until later on in the game, which I'm not trying to follow for the show.
Okay.
You know, Joel is out of the picture for a little bit, and then Ellie had to be on her own for a little bit, and she has to go through some things, and Joel is like, "I'm here. I'm here now."
Heard you.
That's the only time Joel like coddled her before the ending of the game.
Oh, okay. Got you. So I feel like in this rendition, I think it's more realistic. I think the live action, because they were probably thinking from the perspective, because I think the Naughty Dog team were thinking from the perspective of their current audience, people that are more likely to play and engage with the story and like just get with the gameplay. So maybe it was the Naughty Dog's team of like when they're creating that line, they were thinking, what's going to motivate the players to keep playing? You know, what's going to keep the players still engaged and still happy enough to like keep playing this experience, while the people that's making the live action, I think they're thinking more so from the perspective of like, how can we spark feelings in a person? How can we connect more with like the human experience? Even though I feel like The Last of Us, the show itself, the game itself, I feel like has certain scenes that does hit the human experience a little bit harder. Like when I forget the name of the chick again. Joel's
Tess?
Yeah, Tess. Yeah. Like how Tess dies in the game. First how Tess dies in the show, and more so on Joel's reaction in the game. Like Joel's reaction in the game is like a lot more like, "Oh dang, I'm about to lose the person I love," versus in the show is a lot more like, "Dang, I'm about to lose my running partner." So like in the game, I don't know if you remember, but in the game, like when Tess shows like I'm infected, Joel immediately goes like, "Oh Jesus, like he like immediate." But in the show, it's more like Joel goes like. So there's certain elements to like how it's portrayed in the game, at least when it comes to Tess, where I'm like, oh, that hit me harder, more emotionally. Like, oh, Joel cares more about Tess in the game, while in the show it's like it's a lot more muted. It's like, I know you care, but I don't know at what depth do you actually really care about this person. Like, you haven't shed a single tear one time. Not saying you have to shed a tear, but like even in moments of quiet, when you're like in your when you're about to fall asleep, you don't process that a little bit. You know what I mean?
I will say in the show they're a bit more direct with the relationship with Tess and Joel. Because there was a scene where...
Oh, like when they're on the bed and she does the hand thing?
Yeah. That doesn't take place in the game at all. That was just like... At least from my memory of the game. So I was like shocked when I saw Tess and Joel in the same bed. I think in the game, they made implications of that. Because she was like, there's enough between us here.
There's enough. Yeah. I like that line. I like that line a lot. It's like we both done some scummy stuff. We're not good people. Like, they both know each other as not good people, but they care enough about each other. So when she says that line of like, there's enough between us that you owe me, so you owe me at least this. I'm like, damn, that line hits in a weird way. It's not like you love me enough for this. It's like we both. I don't even know if we're both really capable of love at this point, based on all the stuff we've done for the past 20 years. But we've done enough for each other
Yeah.
That it's just like, we keep doing this shit for each other. So keep doing this shit for me. Yeah, that's so interesting, man. It's weirdly powerful, but it makes so much sense for like what they have going on in their life like that.
I will say, I think episode 2 might be my favorite.
Okay.
2 and 4. 2, because Tess went out. The way she went out was really cool. I know it's I guess a cliche, but she took down like a whole.
Yeah, she took down the whole thing. Like, I'm proud of her for that.
Yeah.
It's just like, because in the game it was like the military coming, right?
So like 3 people down in the game. So like 3 people down versus a whole army of infected. I mean, that's.
Yeah, I just don't like the fact that like they had this other infected trying to bring their dusty, crusty lips all up on Tess's lips to get that. Like, yo, she already infected. Let her be, bro. Let her just like twitch a little bit, fight. Give her. I don't like the fact that like she out here having those tentacle things. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like,
yeah, that was definitely.
I felt uncomfortable, but shout out to Tess for like getting it done. But I felt uncomfortable.
Fair.
I was like, ew, get that nasty thing away from me, bro. Like, ew. I felt uncomfortable, man. But
I agree.
I think that shows. I think that also plays another part into like how the show does a really good job with the infected, because I feel uncomfortable every time I see an affected person. You know, when Ellie sees the affected person trapped under the ground and stuff like that. When Joel is looking for his supplies that he left, I was just like, oh, this is sad. I used to be a person and everything, and you just see how desensitized Ellie is to it, and it makes sense because she grew up in this world. I don't know how many. She's probably haven't seen too much of her. She might not even have seen at this point any person that she's known personally get infected, right? You think?
I think she's probably
one person before him.
Yeah, probably at least one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So maybe she has a little bit of that idea of like, okay, like, yeah, this used to be people, but the way she was like kind of looking at that zombie was just like, there wasn't a sense of like empathy. It was more of a sense of curiosity, like what makes you tick. Like, I never had the opportunity to really be this up close and personal with an infected before. Let me see what's in there. Ew. Yeah. That's literally literally bad.
That's a fact. I think it's been a good series so far. 2's been my favorite episode, then probably 4. And 3 and 1 is kind of tied. I think there's a lot of. I feel different between 3 and 1. The feeling with 1, there's a lot more dread going into episode 1. Like, I know what's going to happen to Sarah. I know how the episode's going to end, but like seeing. And then episode 2 where the scientist was like, "What do we do here?" And she just like, "Bomb."
Yeah, you know what's interesting about this is like. Naughty Dog, again, I think they're really good at getting you into the characters, but we're seeing the difference in terms of like how the medium of gaming versus the medium of like media and TV shows connects to the characters. For the medium of gaming, take my controller, I move this analog stick, it moves a person. Boom, 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 my actions move that person. I am that person right now. Wow. So like in the game, Sarah dies, but like I died. Because I was playing as Sarah this whole time. You know what I'm saying? And then it switches to Joel. And then you're like, okay, now I'm Joel. But in the series, in the first episode, literally the first half of the whole thing was Sarah's life. It was like literally just like, let's follow Sarah's life and be Sarah in this. So they took the idea of like playing as Sarah in the game and then try to be like, okay, we can't play as Sarah in the game, but we still need people to connect with Sarah and get connected enough for it. So I kind of felt, I was like, dang, the people that haven't played The Last of Us that don't know anything about the game, they about to be like, yo, Sarah's the main character, bro. Like, we about to be lit. Like, we about to follow Sarah through this. She about to find a cure and all that. She about to like figure out how to survive. You know, her dad might have to die for her, and she might have to go through the character. Oh, Sarah died. Whoa. Joel's the main character. Oh. Alright. Yeah. But yeah, man. I don't know. It's like I've been hungry for a good zombie show for a minute. This one also, I feel like before we close out, we got to talk about how disgusting the setting is, man. We got to talk about how disgusting the setup for the show is, because I'm like, in the first episode where they're doing that whole scientist talking about like the dangers of the cordyceps and like what would happen if global warming happened. I'm like, too many things are connected. Like, do animals mutate? Yes. Are we experiencing warmer and warmer climates? Yes. It was just it had me like, man, I'm not gonna put no mushrooms in my omelet this morning, bro. I was like, I'm not about to do that. I'm not about to eat. I'm taking some time off of mushrooms for a minute, bro. Like, this is concerning. I felt concerned. And then I remember I called you, right? I called you about that one episode where I think it was episode 3. Yeah, it was episode 3. And all right, let me set the stage for you guys. I just went to KFC to pick up some food, right? I got myself a chicken sandwich, some fries, some mac and cheese, and a biscuit. Okay, not the healthiest stuff, but I was craving that, right?
Fair.
I was sitting right here, TV right here, watching The Last of Us, right? And then Ellie has a question. She's like, "Yo, how did this happen? Like, how did all this infected stuff happen? I know what the school taught me, but I don't trust those losers. Like, you were there? Like, what happened?" And Joel was like, "Well, there's a lot of different theories that went around, but it seems like the most common theory." And so Joel's saying this. I'm eating my biscuit, right? I got my biscuit in my mouth, chewing, just. This acting is good. I like what Joel's about to say, you know? And then Joel says like, yeah, it seems like what most likely happened was the cordyceps got within our flour supply. And so the reason why it spread so massive and it happened on a global scale is because, you know, everyone eats things with flour all the time, you know, like bread and like, you know, anything with flour in it. So I'm out here eating my biscuit, hearing Joel talk about flour, and this is me. I was like, no.
Like flour, KFC biscuits, the KFC chicken, and the mac and cheese. That's what really got people saying.
Honestly, there was a high viral load volume in that mac and cheese. Honestly, to be real with you, high. But yeah, like the setting, and like how they really make it feel. It makes you feel like, oh, this is close. Like, why are you making it feel so close to me right now? You know. Yeah, and I also like how The Last of Us does this thing where it kind of like goes back and forth between present and past, where we kind of see like, oh, there's some dead bodies here. How did those dead bodies get there? And then we see like, oh, the past, like, oh, they're moving, and then we find out years later the settlement those people were at fell apart, and something happened there. Oh, so that could explain why those bodies are there. I kind of like that. I like that.
Cool. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how many episodes do you think is left from this series.
I've heard it might be. I don't think it's more than 10. I don't think it's more than 10 because that's HBO's MO. To be honest with you, HBO nowadays is like they keep things condensed. They keep their seasons pretty condensed because they're like better to put a bigger budget into one episode than to have like just 20 episodes where they're all kind of good or some are mediocre. It's more
fair.
Like have every episode be a banger. That's like HBO's MO nowadays. So
cool. So we got about 6 episodes left by your calculations.
Yeah, I think maybe because this week for us episode 5 came out. So I honestly feel like we might have 3 or 4 episodes left. Yeah, 3 or 4 episodes left. That's what it feels like in terms of how HBO is moving. But we shall see. We shall see. I might be wrong. I don't care.
Fair. I meant like 6 episodes that we haven't seen yet. That's the other one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. But yo, man, any final thoughts on The Last of Us? Is there anything about the? I guess final question would be: is there any aspect about the game in terms of the story that you prefer, or are you preferring this rendition for the story?
I want to see what they do with the infected. Like, because they brought up a whole new concept of them being tethered together.
Right.
So I hope they flesh that out a little bit more.
Because they even had to change the mechanics of it, right? Remember, there was like a spore clouds that would be in the game, but they couldn't. I think they were taking it a little bit too literally in the show, where they're like, well, if it's spore clouds, wouldn't it just travel across the air and then everyone would be infected? And it's like you would have to wear a mask all the time, no matter where you were. That doesn't seem like it makes sense to do that. So we're going to give him this kind of overall connected ability and make it easier for us as people making the series. So they made some tweaks in that regard. So it shows the limitations of live action stuff versus game stuff, because we weren't thinking about it when we were playing the game. We're like, oh, infected cloud, all right, cool. But yeah, it would make sense. It would be like air currents making all those spores throughout the air, everybody be infected. Yeah, it'd be a wrap.
Well,
but yeah, guys. That's anything else you want to say, Dr. Griffs?
Nah, a good series so far. I'm looking forward to the last couple episodes. I think every change they made so far makes sense. I liked how in episode 3 they kind of dived into Bill and Frank's relationship. In the game, Frank was never really there. He kind of, he find his body eventually, but I think that was a nice change of pace. Episode 4, it ended pretty good because I know what's happening next with the game. So yeah, I look forward to see what happened. Oh, there's one cool detail about episode 4.
Okay.
So Joe is saying how he's kind of deaf in one of his ears, or part of his ears. And he put all the glass on the floor so that they wouldn't hear him. So he would hear people if they're coming. When he woke up at the end of the episode, he was rotating on his other side.
Oh, so he was on his good ear.
Yeah. So he went to sleep with his good ear up, and then when he woke up, his bad ear was up. So that was a nice little detail.
Dang, his sleep patterns betrayed him. He was like, let me get comfortable now.
Yeah.
Dang, yo.
That's why Ellie had to keep yelling at Joel, because he couldn't hear. That was a nice little detail.
That's a good detail right there. And also, like, it just shows like how real it is. It's like we play these characters in video games, right? And we're like, oh, let me take this health potion. Let me bandage up real quick. Let me get my health bar up. But like that doesn't work like that in like real life, Yeah. You have these characters that got these like long-term issues they got to deal with and all that stuff. But yeah, man, I too am enjoying The Last of Us as well. I think HBO is doing a pretty good job so far. I don't think they've really missed in any episodes. And I look forward to seeing what other ways they kind of break away from the game, because we, as we play the game, we kind of know what the story is going to be. So it's more like looking at how they're going to do it. I kind of see it as like reading the manga versus watching the anime. That's what it kind of feels like to me right now, is like, what changes are you going to make, and like how are you going to implement the really core stuff that you can't really break away from. So,
yeah.
But yeah, guys, thank you for watching another episode of The Village Hidden Within Screets. Let us know what you guys think about The Last of Us right now. Are you more of a person that enjoyed the gaming experience of The Last of Us, or are you really about that live action? Or are you that person that's never heard of The Last of Us before and didn't realize there was a video game for it, and you're like, oh, I just love the show? Because I feel like if you love the show, maybe you might want to play the game. Yeah, you want to say something, Doctor?
I will say it was genius of Sony to drop the remake for the PS5 right before this show came out, because people who are grown adults who never played the game or not watching the show and I think they're thinking about the game now. So that was a genius play.
Like I was talking to Dr. Griffs before that, one of these episodes we should have a talk about just game adaptations into like TV shows, because man, you see if you have a really good TV show of a game, that could make the game sales just just spike up, because people just want to experience more and more of that content, man. But anyways, guys, we appreciate you guys watching. Like this video if it put a smile on your face and you enjoyed what we're talking about. Comment if you have things and ideas you want to share with us, and also if you have suggestions for future topics you would like us to tackle in the future. And subscribe if you want to see more, and also check out the description, because both me and Dr. Griffs have our own independent channels that we do our own stuff on, and we'll have that link down there below as well. So anyways, this is Bam and Dr. Griffs. Peace.